All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining in tonight. If you're watching the playback, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to check that out as well. We're enjoying summer, as you can tell. I'm in my tank top, just been outside hanging out with the fam and doing some work. And I really wanted to do this call because maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't know. The company I've been with for 8.5 years, Wild Tree, decided to close its doors permanently. And that put me in a situation where I really needed to reevaluate what I was doing in my life. Was I on track for hitting the goals I wanted, and just really casting vision for the next, what I'm calling like the next decade of my life. So, I was going through this journey myself. So I thought, hey, why not share it and see if other people could benefit from it as well. So that's what tonight's all about. And I know we have a smaller audience, and I love to do a question and answer and those kind of things. So if you are watching the playback, you can always reach out to me and ask questions that way as well too. So yeah, let's get going. So I can't remember if you've seen the Dare to Dream workbook. Have you seen this?
I haven't.
You haven't seen this?
No.
Okay. So you can get this on my website. So it's RebeccaJRamage.com. And it's a Design Your Dream workbook. And when I was putting this together, it was really, like I said, a lot of the stuff that I do really comes from the desire to figure it out myself, and then to help other people do it as well. So I put together this workbook to really help gain clarity and to paint vision for the future, right? And so you've maybe heard it said, like, what do you want people to say about you at your eulogy? Like, we know money can't buy you happiness and those kind of things. But at the same time, like, who is it that you want to be in the end? Like, what kind of person you want to be? What do you want to have? What charities you want to give back to? So when you're creating vision for your life, you really want to start to put all those together, right? Okay. So the workbook really helps you do that, because it's like if you're just sitting there like, what am I supposed to do with my life? I have no idea. She tells to do this, this, and this. But this is just a guideline and some question and answers to help you do that. So I'll just kind of highlight it. I'll just kind of highlight the workbook for you guys. So it's really hard to create something if you don't actually know what it is you want. So this workbook is going to help you kind of just put it down onto paper. So I really encourage you to write things down instead of just typing it out, because there's something about the mind connection, head, heart, hand connection. You put it here, it comes here, and it comes out your hand. And so I feel like there is definitely some very important things that happen in that way. So I would encourage you to do that as well, not just to type it out. It forces you also to slow down and really brings light to your thoughts. I would encourage you to try and think of all 5 senses. So an exercise that I like to do is I think about like my perfect day, and maybe it's in the present or maybe it's in the future, but like, what does it feel like to be there? Like when I close my eyes, like, do I hear the waves crashing in? Do I hear bugs chirping? Do I hear, bringing all of your senses in? What does it smell like? Does it smell like a fresh morning, or is it a campfire at night? Like, because the more you can bring your senses into creating a vision, the more powerful it'll be for you, okay? So not just seeing it in your mind's eye, but also feeling it as well. I want to encourage you to think about yourself personally and professionally. Sometimes we put ourselves into 2 different boxes, like, well, this is my work life and this is my personal life. But you're the whole person, right? You are what you do at home brings into your work, and what you do at work brings into your home. So I'd encourage you to think of yourself both personally and professionally. And then think about your ideal world. To try not to write only down things that you want to have right now. Like, think big term. It's okay. This is one time I would encourage you to be selfish. Like, sometimes you're like, well, is that being greedy if I said I really wanted, I don't know, I'll make something up, a Range Rover? Well, if that's something you really want and you're willing to work for it, no. You know what I mean? It's not like you're asking someone to give you one. You're creating it, right? So you got to kind of know where you want to go. All right. So dream big. If anything was possible, what would that look like for you? Okay. So, and then some of the questions that are in the workbook, I'll just read them to you, and then you can kind of go back and do them on your own. Where do you live? And then describe it, like your city. Is it a big city? Is it a little city? Do you live in an apartment or a home? Do you live in a condo? Do you have a yard? Do you not have a yard? So once you start to get really clear on the vision, it's going to get really, really fun. So what kind of jewelry, toys, houses, those kind of things, what kind of things do you own, possessions? And then once again, this isn't about being greedy, but it's really about figuring out what you like and what you don't like. So when you're working towards it, you can have a real clear picture of what it is. So then kind of switching over to you personally, like what kind of attributes do you have? Like, you know, are you on time? So I'm kind of tend to run a little bit late. So are you punctual? Like, yes, I'm punctual. You know, are you in good shape? Like, what kind of body do you have? I think that's actually one of my next questions on here. Like, you know, how do you feel when you wake up? You know, sometimes people wake up and they feel so tired. Like, I wake up and I feel great in the morning. You know, it's starting to get really clear. You see how deep we're going on this, creating that vision? How much money is in your bank account? How many vacations are you taking? What kinds? When do you get to retire? Are you donating to your favorite causes? People you're serving? How are you giving back? What do you look like? How do you feel? This just kind of goes on and on and on. So describe your tribe. And there's always more questions too. This is just some that I put together to help you really get started. So once you get that all done, you kind of say, all right, sometimes our brain and our vision have a hard time, right? Because our brain is designed to protect us, right? When we're thinking really big and it's out of our realm of reality that we have right now, it feels scary, right? And our brains are designed to keep us safe. And so as you start to grow, your brain says, whoa, 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 don't do that. You won't be safe over there. You know this, you know comfortable, you know this little area, this thing that you're doing. So I call that the naysayer in you is like, don't do that, don't do that. But I would encourage you to say, you know, to the little voice in your head, you know, I really want X and I'm going to continue to work for it, because the more you visualize it, the less your brain will think of it as scary, and the more that it'll accept that that is a reality that you're going to have. And your brain actually doesn't know the difference between like a perceived reality and an actual reality. So the more you start to perceive it, the more it becomes concrete. Make sense? Awesome. Questions so far? No? No questions? All right. I love talking to myself. So, you know, please don't ask any. Okay. So the other thing I would encourage you to do too, there is a quiz on my website as well. So if you haven't taken the quiz, take the quiz. I love it because you kind of think of a goal that you have in mind, and then it's going to ask you 5 or 6 questions to help you decide if you're ready to work towards that goal or how close you are to that goal. And then depending on what your answer says, I give you some tips and suggestions to either work towards it, or if you're already ready to start, where to start. So I'd encourage you to go ahead and take that quiz if you haven't done that as well. So download the Dare to Dream workbook, or Design Your Dream workbook. It's really pretty if you print it in color. I print it in black and white, but I hope it'll help you start to get creating some vision and designing a dream life that you really want to have, because it's really sad if you work all those years and you find out that you were working towards a goal that really wasn't that important to you. Okay. So, all right, ask me some questions. No, I don't like just talking to myself all the time.
I had to unmute, and you can see I have problems now.
No, that doesn't look like a problem. It looks like something super fun.
Yes, he knows it's time to snuggle, so here he is. So, okay, when we started the call, you talked about putting ourselves together from here's our personal, here's our work. How do we tie that together, and how do we get out of our own heads of, oh, I'm at work, I can't talk about what I'm doing on the side?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd say to yourself, give yourself permission. Like if this is something that you find yourself doing often, just say, okay, well, why am I saying that? You know, like, so let's see, we all have self-talk, right? So the self-talk, one of the things I used to say all the time is like, I feel so overwhelmed. I have so many things going on. I don't know what thing to choose first, right? So then what am I telling myself? Like when I even say that out loud, my brain hears me say, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to choose first. And so how do I automatically start to feel? Stressed.
Overwhelmed.
Anxiety. Yeah. More. And I mean, I know that I did this for quite some time, to the point where I just really, really believed it. And now when I look back at that time in my life when I would say those words, I'm way busier now than I ever was then. But I don't let myself feel overwhelmed. And I actually don't use that word either. And you know, that's kind of like the same word busy, right? The more we say we're busy, the more that we perceive ourselves to be busy, you know? And so it's kind of the same thing. So whatever is keeping you from wanting to merge those two pieces together, it's sort of self-talk, is my guess. I shouldn't, I can't, what will people think of me? So I would, you know, encourage you to put those words down and then just kind of call that a lie. Like, people are not going to think that I'm lazy. There was also another time in my life when I had hired an assistant for Wild Tree, and at the time, nobody in the whole company was talking about that. And I had 2 little kids at home. My husband traveled a ton. I was still working full time I think I'd maybe gone down to part time by that point. And, I like my house to be a certain way. There's certain things I want to be doing. And I remember my husband, we just had this deep conversation. He's just like, I'm like, the wheels are falling off the wagon. Like, I cannot do it all. And I said, well, we can either get a housekeeper or we can get someone to help me in my office. And we really talked about it. And I ended up getting someone to help me in my office. And then I didn't tell anybody. And the reason I didn't tell anybody is because I was afraid people would think I was lazy or incompetent because I couldn't do it all. And I kept that secret for a really long time, and partially because nobody in my circle was talking about it, and no one was in my circle was saying, I need help. I can't do all this alone. And, I wanted to be successful, but there's only so many hours in the day, and I knew that I didn't have enough to do it all. So I had to delegate something, but I didn't feel comfortable telling people because I was afraid that they would think I was lazy. So fast forward, I had had an assistant for about 2 years. And a coach came into my life. Her name was Lynn Conway. She's pretty phenomenal. If you ever have the opportunity, check her out. She was in direct sales for a really long time, had a great career, and moved into kind of the coaching space. And I was doing a coaching with her, and she said, all right, who has an assistant, who here gets help with their work? And nobody said anything. And I finally was like, I do, and she's like, awesome, good for you. So what do you have your assistant do? And she was just like, it was like normal. She's like, that's what good CEOs do. They don't do everything themselves. They have someone that does those things that they don't need to be doing, and they only do the things that they need to do. That's how real businesses are ran. And as soon as I came out of the closet on that, everybody else was like, oh my gosh, I was feeling so overwhelmed. I didn't know how I was going to make this happen. I didn't know how people were doing it. And it was just like, it gave everybody else permission to start talking about it and to start being okay with not being able to do it all. And then she actually had me talk about it at a conference from the stage. And everybody kept saying at the end of the weekend, they're like, what was your big takeaway? That it's okay to get help. That was like the big takeaway of the weekend. And I didn't want to tell anybody because I was afraid people would think I was lazy, that I was incompetent. That was the self-talk that I had around getting help, to the point where I had to get help or I was not going to be sane. And you know what I'm saying? So the self-talk that we have keeps us sometimes from doing stuff. I probably could have gotten one sooner, but I would encourage you to check your self-talk, and no one's going to perceive you as lazy. No one perceived me as lazy or incompetent at all. They say, wow, you're so smart. I wish I would have thought of that myself. I'm like, oh, I just thought I was lazy. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? So do you feel like you're telling yourself something when the rest of the world will probably see something totally different?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes, it's hard to get out of, I'm getting paid as an employee over here, but I'm doing my own thing to build my life that I want over here. That's the part that I have problems with.
Okay. And so because you feel like you're taking advantage of the time that you're on your job, or?
I think part of it, yeah.
Okay. And do you think that your boss or your coworkers would feel the same way?
Boss, yes. Coworkers, no.
Okay. So there's some healthy boundaries, right? There's boundaries we have to have, like what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what's good, being good use of our time. You are a whole person though. So like, my best advice I could probably give you, as long as you're not obnoxious, you might be surprised how receptive people are. They know and love you. You do a great job. I know this personally about you. You do a great job at what you do, and you're really respected in your industry. So, if you mention, hey, what else I do is I help people get, healthy meals on the table as well. I don't think anybody's gonna be like, did you say that on the company's time? You know what I mean? Like, that's who you are as a person. You know what I mean? So yeah. Don't be embarrassed about what you do. That's the other thing too. I'd say take pride and ownership in what you do, because you might be surprised how your people are watching you and you're inspiring them just by doing your actions and just by who you are as a person and being the light for other people in the world. Because, just like with the example I gave, like, people want to have permission from people they know and love to do the things they want to do or be the person they want to be. And sometimes we have to do the scary work, like coming out of the closet, with having an assistant, for everybody else to feel so comfortable with it too. So I would say, I hope that helps. Does that help?
That does help. It helps to hear that I can give myself permission to do it.
Yeah, because you're the only one who can, right? You're the only one who can do that. The other thing too is if you're having a hard time, write an affirmation and pivot on it. So like, I'm trying to think what would be a good example for you. I do great stories about talking about myself because obviously I've lived it. But if there's ever something you feel like, it's not the truth, what's the opposite of that? So like, I'm overwhelmed. Well, I wake up every day feeling focused. So writing an affirmation that's the opposite of the way you may be feeling or the way you perceiving yourself or the thing you want to give your permission to do. I know one of my affirmations I have right here on my desk, right here, it says, I am disciplined to do the work I know needs to be done to achieve my goals and build a future for my family. So like, that's an affirmation that I read almost daily. I used to read it daily. Now I don't feel like I need it as much anymore because I used to struggle with what I felt like was discipline. Like I couldn't decide. Like I had so many options. I couldn't decide which thing I needed to focus on. So that was where that discipline piece came in. I am disciplined to do the work I know needs to be done. And sometimes that's not always the fun work. So, yeah, I'm disciplined. You're disciplined, whatever it is for you. Like I'm proud to share healthy meal solutions with everyone I meet, or I'm proud to, help people get into home ownership or, whatever it is for you. Help?
I like it.
Yeah, just writing a little affirmation and whatever the opposite is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're feeling embarrassed, I'm proud. Or if you're feeling tired, I feel energized. Just because you start to feed your mind that and it will believe it. It's the same thing with the vision. You start to create that life you want and start putting down on paper what it is you want to look like and be like and feel like in the space you want to have. That's how you start to manifest the life you want. I've seen this played out millions of times in my life. Like probably the most memorable time I can tell you about creating vision and then really having it come true. Do you know the story about my house, my white house?
I don't.
Okay, so hopefully someone listens to this playback because it's a pretty good story. So I'm going to rewind to about 15 years ago, in the Green Bay area in Wisconsin, and we were renting an apartment. This is about the time my daughter was born. So she was a baby and I would take her on a walk and we would walk by this house. It was a white house with red shutters and this big wraparound porch and had this really cute just backyard that kind of sloped away and swing set in the back and everything. And I just remember walking by that every day and thinking, I just love that house. I just love that house. I just love that house. I remember one time I said to John, if that house ever goes for sale, I want to see the inside. Well, of course, the for sale side went up. And I was like, babe, the house is for sale. So we went and toured the house. We were in no shape, ready to buy a house. We had just had a baby. We had no down payment. We weren't buying a house, but we went and looked anyways because, you got to create vision. So I went in and it was just a perfect house. I had the best laundry room and I loved the layout and the kitchen looked over the backyard. And I was like, oh, this is a great house. Well, of course I can't afford it. So anyways, time marches on. We move out of Green Bay. We move on and fast forward about 10-ish years. Let's see. I don't know, seven-ish years. Long time, right? So we are looking for a home now where we live now in Wisconsin. And we had looked at like 40 homes. We kept looking and looking and looking and nothing really felt right. Nothing really was, what I really wanted. And our realtor is like, we encourage you to raise your price about $50,000. It's like, because there might be some stuff that's up there, that you can get, but, we can negotiate it down. So we took his advice and we did that. And this house came up. And it was this beautiful white house with red shutters and a wraparound porch. And at the time, on the search, I didn't remember it, but as soon as we pulled up and I was like, this is it. This is the house. And we walked in and it was beautiful and it had this great laundry room and it had this kitchen that looked out over the backyard and it has, just everything I wanted. And my husband was not with me. And of course it was the most expensive house that we looked at. And I was like, of course, that's what you want. So we buy the house and, we move in and everything's going well. And my husband actually goes up to Green Bay to work at the hospital, like do a favor for the hospital. And so the kids and I go up to stay with them in a hotel and we go up and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to drive by our old apartment and show Addison where she lived when she was a baby? And, so we drive out there and we drive by the apartment and we're like, oh, that was really boring. Like, let's drive by that house I used to love. You remember that street I used to walk down? I took Addison all the time. And we pull up and I'm crying just thinking about it. We pull up and it's the exact house we had just bought. It was a white house with red shutters and the wraparound porch. And I had totally forgotten what that house would look like. But my mind had never forgotten. My subconscious worked on that problem for 7 years-ish. Because that was perfection to me. That was what I wanted. That was a vision of the life I saw, the house with the yard and the perfect little swing set. And that is what I felt it. I smelled it. I was there. I was in it. And that is what I wanted as a home. That's what I saw as beautiful. And so when we pulled up to the house, like I didn't consciously know that's exactly what I had been searching for, but my subconscious knew. Does that make sense? Like my conscious and subconscious, they were working without me knowing it, right? And so when we pulled up, I literally just started bawling. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this is what I was always looking for. And I, to this day, love our house. I pull up, is everything I've ever wanted. And I didn't really know visualization was a really big, I didn't know anything about personal growth before I had started with Wild Tree, and just kind of on the journey and, going through so many coaching programs and just really realizing like you get to create the life you want. You get to be the person that gets to decide, what kind of house you want to live in and those kind of things. And casting vision is so important. And same Lynn Conway, I heard her speak at a conference. And I was supposed to be speaking that next day on something else. And she shared this story about a boat. They had picked out a boat. Their husband and her wanted to get a boat for their family. And so they had got a picture of this boat that this dream boat that they wanted, and they cut it out and they put it on the fridge. That was their vision. We're going to get this boat. We're going to get this boat. They knew what color it was going to be and everything. And, time goes on and, the boat picture kind of gets pushed to the back of the refrigerator, but they're still looking for boats on like the newspaper and stuff like that. And, some time goes by and they find, no boat was ever the right boat. And then all of a sudden they pull up and there's the boat. Oh, they just knew it was the right boat. They get home, weeks go by, months go by. She cleans off the fridge and here's the boat, the exact boat they ended up buying, down to the color and the model. And she's like, how does this happen? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that has absolutely happened to me too. And so it was one of those things like, it is a thing. It is a true thing that what happens is what you visualize, you can manifest in your life. If you start listening to other podcasts and books about casting vision and, dream boards, you can see my dream board over my shoulder here as well. Having that visual representation of what you want is so, so, so powerful. So I hope that story, I love telling stories for learning. I hope that kind of helps you figure out, a little bit of what you want. So in 10 years, we can be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I made that happen. That's
I don't want to wait 10 years, Rebecca.
Okay. Or, well, we
3.
a year. Well, and like, as you can see, my beautiful office is a mess right now, but like I've got, it's just a place that I love. And it took me a long time to get to this point, but I knew that's what I wanted. 7 years. I waited to redo my office, and I just love it. I walk in and it's so cozy and it's so me. And I just feel like it's not so much about the stuff you have, but you know what I mean? Like the feeling you feel in that yours that you've created for the life, right? So, all right, what else? So for me on this journey, with Wild Tree deciding to close, and I was not really ready to jump into anything new right away because I really wanted to take some time and really reflect about who I was as a person. Was I on the same journey? Those kind of things. Like, what do I really want? And so going back to this workbook is so powerful because it helps you. You're never the same person the next day, right? You're learning and growing and changing. So, refreshing it and doing it again. Some of those things that you kind of forgot. Oh yeah, I wanted that. I forgot. Is that so important to me? Yeah, maybe, or maybe not, and that's okay. It really is okay. And our family needs to do it again. We did it about, maybe it's been 2.5 years ago now. And that was when we decided to move to Alaska for the summer. That's where that came from, that visioning exercise and sitting down and getting really clear about what we wanted our vacation to look like, because I didn't want a vacation where we were just running around the whole time. And so once we knew that wanted to go to Alaska, the destination was picked out, then we wanted it to be longer than just a few days or a few weeks. How do we make it happen? Then you have the vision, then which is the dream, right? And then you break it down into a plan, and then you break it down into the action. You know, what do I got to do every day to work towards that bigger goal? So, all right, what else can I help you with? Oh, I can't quite read it. What did it say? I saw columns. You have to take me off mute.
Just talking to my dog, apparently.
He really loves you. He's like,
well, I wasn't home much yesterday when I actually got home. So tonight's the first night that we're being snuggly for the last week. So he's not moving.
He's like, no, I love you. All right. So what does it say?
This is all the 4 like boxes that I've been putting myself in.
Oh, kind of keep it separated.
Yes. And so I did my personal stuff.
Okay.
It's really all up in my face tonight. So my personal stuff, my recipe stuff, my home buyer education, and then my home builders stuff.
Okay.
And in each box, I wrote down just all the things that came to mind about all 4 of them. Like in my personal one, what are things that I love? And then in the recipe one, who do I want to serve the most? What do I want to do with it? And then the other 2, just the things that I usually do for work. And out of all of this stuff, I circled what was kind of common in all 4 of them.
Okay.
And all 4 of them have public speaking, like teaching classes or stuff, and traveling. So I decided that's how I can kind of figure out how to start putting all 4 of our pieces together rather than just 4 boxes.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about that. He's going to run off now because Nathan's upstairs. So.
Good. He's out.
Can you take Randy, please?
I love it. His little animal house over. We got dogs. We got cats. We got
cats are up here. Yeah, it's a zoo here.
I love it.
He's
it's
really
a zoo here, but my animals are all people.
So yeah, that was what I had called about the other day, and just kind of I found the different things that I can connect all of my things into. So it was really helpful to tell myself that it's not 4 different things, it's me doing different things.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Otherwise you were having like split personality.
I really was. It was like Tuesday, Thursday, I was teaching classes. Monday, I was trying to do menu stuff. And on the weekend, I was still trying to be like a person.
Pockets of time. Pockets of time. Utilizing those pockets of time. You know, I think the biggest thing is like, especially like with this big change coming up with us, it's like it wasn't my decision. I felt like I was on the right path and I was moving toward that goal and I was happy with where it was at. So now all of a sudden it's like, whoopsies, time out, pivot. Guess what? You're going a different direction. And I'm excited to see what that my future brings and what, you know, what's up for me next, you know. And after we left Alaska this last summer, it was really about setting a new goal. Like, okay, I loved my career at Wild Tree. I feel like I accomplished a lot. I was like, top seller one year. I mean, I earned our Vision Award, which meant so much to me because I love being a leader and helping other people. I feel like I really crushed my personal business, you know, but I love the coaching piece and helping other people really get what they want and realizing like, you don't have to marry into money. You don't have to, you know, get a PhD. You can be exactly who you are right now in this moment, but just get really clear about what it is you want and then just work towards it. You know, it doesn't have to be crazy outrageous. It doesn't have to be a giant price tag. It can be, I just want to spend some time meditating more. Or I want to go to a yoga class, or I want to spend more time with my girlfriends, you know, but just being like really intentional with your time. But the only way you can be intentional is if you know what you actually want, right?
Yes.
What actually brings you joy and what doesn't bring you joy. And then, sometimes we can outsource those things that don't bring us joy and sometimes we can't. And, it's just like, it all goes back to having vision and, kind of know what you want, or otherwise one day you wake up and you're like, my gosh, where'd my life go? What have I accomplished? Where have I been? Am I even the person I like?
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
I know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So even though I don't like the idea that Wild Tree closed, it is absolutely making me reset the compass for my life.
I love how Sonara said, we're going to hug the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my new favorite sayings. It's changing, but hang on, here it goes.
Yep, it's changing. I know. Yeah. So, yeah, and what's really funny is my husband does not like change. He likes things to be thorough and this routine and I'm like, and you married me? I'm like, whoa, you know what you're getting. And so my children are kind of like that as well, one more so than the other. And just little things like she doesn't really like things to change. And we're just trying to even teach her, like, there's nothing that's guaranteed. Our lives aren't guaranteed. We don't know what tomorrow brings. So don't live with regret. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to make changes. It's okay to be flexible. It doesn't mean you have to wake up every day and just throw caution to the wind, but it's, things are going to change and you aren't in control. So, right?
That's right.
We're not in control. So I'm sorry, I'm all kind of all over the map here tonight, but hopefully it's been helpful. I kind of wish we would have had a few more viewers on because then I love to troubleshoot things with people. What time is it? Oh, we've already been on a half hour?
Yeah. I've been just soaking it all in.
My kindergarten report card did say talks too much. Finally getting paid. Finally getting paid to talk too much. So.
Do you have a few more minutes if we turn the recording off and dived into some other things?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I'll just wrap up the recording then. Well, thank you. I hope tonight was helpful, sharing some stories about vision, casting, and just really being okay to pivot, right? And to go back to the beginning and reset the vision. And it's okay if it doesn't come to you right away. Spend some time. This isn't like a 20-minute exercise, like, I'll just get it out. Well, it's hard to be excited about something, just throw out a piece of paper. Spend some time thinking about it, reflecting on it. The reason the vision boards are so great is because, as you're looking through magazines or, Pinterest or whatever, you can really pull out things that really inspire you and really resonate with you, the person, and then put those up so you can see them as a visual reminder of what you're working towards and the person you want to be. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you tonight for being on or watching the playback. Bye.